Yep, so my name is Telita. My colour is black. My faction is Switch, and I have 10 managers. Do you want me to list all of them? Okay, cool.
What is your campaign slogan?
It is Trust in Telita.
In 1 minute or less, tell us why you want to run for board and why people should vote for you.
Yeah, so I want to run for board because I have been around since 2017, like extensively involved in clubs and societies, and I've seen a lot of things through experience that I think the board could be doing better, and I think that I have the passion and motivation to implement them. For example, things like constantly changing the funding models for clubs and societies. Cutting staff capacity is a big one. Transparency, also huge, not consulting with staff and students. I think that me running a progressive left-wing policy and campaign, I think that I'd really be able to make some good change as board director.
What is your favourite book?
My favourite book, 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Favourite movie?
Creed 2.
Favourite club or society?
Favourite club or society? I'm going to say POC Review because I'm president of POC Review right now. It's my baby.
Favourite Pulp article?
Favourite Pulp article? I really enjoyed the Bachelor reviews that Ellie Stevenson did in 2019, I'm pretty sure it was.
Favourite USU outlet?
ABS Cafe. My 3 most important policies. I would say 1, clubs and societies. I think that the USU should implement regular consultation with clubs and societies. Established communication, for one, would be a great start. I think that we actually need to seriously revise the funding model as it exists. I would also say we need to protect staff in the USU. That's another policy that I would really like to implement through just talking to staff, increasing consultation with staff, maybe regular forums as well. And then I think the third would be making the campus safe and accessible for everybody. So that's, that would be, for example, establishing peer programs with overseas students who are currently stuck overseas due to COVID. That would also look like funding and promoting RAD Sex and Consent Week and Enviro Week. And also like actually implementing consent training programs for all executive members on campus. Too much ego. I think there's way too much ego on the board right now. I would say the USU has struggled to engage properly with student issues beyond the superficial level. And I really want to change that with my campaign. I'm running alongside Isla for Switch, and I think that together, if we both get up, hopefully, which is what we want, is to push a progressive agenda that actually prioritizes and responds to student concerns and issues. For example, I don't think that the USU handled staff cuts properly at all. I seriously condemn that. I would also say that the USU hasn't done an adequate job of appropriately responding to student concerns such as the climate crisis, nor sexual assault on campus, nor xenophobia, even funding cuts that the university has made. I think that the USU can at least say something about it.
Could you elaborate on how you would go beyond superficial engagement with students?
Yeah, superficial engagement with students. I think the best example that I can give is how the USU engages with sustainability and the environment. I would say we have these cool cardboard cups, we have the plant wall outside, but as it currently exists, the USU and the university don't have proper waste managing programs. I would really like to see the university and the USU recycle. That's one, we don't do that. I would also look at all of our sponsors and our vendors and make sure that they are trading ethically, environmentally consciously, and sustainably. And this is a big one, but I think that I would actually seriously use my time to get the board to think about putting renewables on USU buildings. Yeah, so the ableist sign was quite abhorrent. It was awful. I think that the question that they put on the sign was awful. This one is tricky and complex because the USU, if they were to ban the society, which would be my immediate response, sets a precedent in that the union board can decide what is morally good or bad, and also just a precedent that could be seen used against other clubs who actually do contribute meaningful discourse to campus. However, in the case of CathSoc and LifeSoc, I think that what they have done is they have created a discriminatory environment for people who are not able-bodied, and under that, I think that they should be disbanded. And it's literally in the Constitution that they have to actually, not be ableist or discriminatory. I don't know why they thought that sign was okay. Yeah, so I would say that it's a common misconception for people to go, yeah, the board should be neutral, SRC are the ones that do the activist stuff. But I think that the board isn't automatically neutral. I would say that the board, in the way that it's structured hierarchically, in the way that it has existed in the past, has leaned quite conservatively, and I think that has really impacted student life and restricted people from getting the most out of campus culture. I would say that the USU does have a duty to respond to the student concerns and issues, and at the moment that's political issues like climate crisis, xenophobia, ableism on campus, sexual assault on campus. The USU has to respond to those student issues because we are a student union.
So you mentioned that the USU is linked to conservatives in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Could you elaborate what you mean by that?
Yeah, okay. So the previous iterations of the board have had people who are known to be liberal hacks, who basically use the board as a little spring for them to launch their political career or whatever weird networking career that they want. And I think that going back to what I said earlier, ego kind of gets in the way of people making good policies and implementing them properly. Because what ends up happening is these liberal hacks get onto board, they go, great, I've made it. I don't have to do anything now. I don't have to do anything more beyond the bare minimum of one meeting a month. And what I would really like to do is not that. I want to do the opposite of that. I really want to be an involved board director. I really want to start reforming the austerity measures that were placed during COVID and work towards actually reviving student life and campus life. COVID-19 recovery plan. I think what I have observed now that the board are coming out of COVID-19, I mean, Andrew was just talking about how the board is going through a surplus, or the union's going through a surplus, I should say. I would really like to see that money directly invested into student life through clubs and societies and greater events to actually start rebuilding the culture that students used to have. I've been around a long time and I've kind of seen how student life and student culture has dropped off over time. And I would really like to see all of the surplus that the USU has made over the past however many months to be directly funded back into student life. Whatever that may look like, I would love to see it, invested in peer programs for people who are still living overseas and who are still struggling because of COVID. I'd like to see the language exchange program boosted. I'd like to see Food Hub promoted more because Food Hub, in talking to a bunch of people, has been an excellent way for students to kind of get by during the hard time that was COVID. funding clubs and societies, even the small ones. I don't like that they didn't give the small clubs and societies a lot of money, because I think it just like shows that the university like board doesn't really understand how clubs and societies offer a safe space for a lot of students on campus. Like all of those things like can start stimulating campus life and culture again. Party at Manning, more of those. Live music, music festival, fun stuff. Way more fun. Like I feel like I haven't had fun, you know? Yeah, I think that the USU needs to support international students more and students abroad more. The language exchange program I know has really helped some of my international student friends on campus. I would also say like the peer support program. The volunteer team for the USU have tutoring sessions, but they're not promoted. I would like to see that happen as well. I think even like something as simple as like creating a digital space for international students to like interact while they're stuck overseas would do like wonders for making them feel more supported. I think that the USU also needs to direct international students towards like SRC programs and SRC initiatives to also help them. Same with Supra. Of the current board candidates, I would most like to work with Prudence Wilkins-Wheat. She is in my faction and she's lovely. And the person that I am least looking forward to working with, was that the question?
So the current board candidates?
Yes.
Running for board.
Oh, the candidates, got it. Isla is also in my faction and she is also lovely. The person who I'm least looking forward to, David.
So, I mean, I guess on that note, and like we were discussing before, if you're elected to board, there's a good chance you'll be working with people from the other side of the political spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
How do you propose that you'll develop a healthy working relationship with these people to, as you said, develop good policy?
Yeah, I mean, what I want to use my time as board director on is working collaboratively with people within, like people, staff and students to revive campus life post-COVID. And I will do that by any means necessary. Like I don't see that like working with people would necessarily, like in interpersonal stuff, I don't think that would impact my run as board. And I would like to say that maybe, I believe my policies are the best. But also at the same time, like Isla and I are running together because we recognize that there is a deficit of progressive voices on the board. We both want to get up. We both want a strong left majority on the board so that we can actually start making decisions that like feed back into campus life instead of random ones, or instead of getting like opposed at every corner. Because I've seen the way that the left presence on the board as it exists has minimized harm and has like tried to make all these initiatives happen, but they've gotten shut down for multiple different reasons.
Could you explain why you least want to work with David?
I least want to work with David. I just don't really know him. I don't really know him. He's doing the thing where he's running as an independent, but he's liberal. I heard through the grapevine he doesn't really get along with his other liberal peers as well, which tells me that he is also not a collaborative person. Oh, Prudence.